My husband stood next to
So,
my
with the
hospital
house, car,
bed
and life
wearing a
insurance
black
money, we can
suit.
finally
His
take that trip we've
girlfriend
been
wore a
planning.
tight black dress. They were not crying. They were smiling. And they were planning what to do with my house, my car, and my life insurance money. The problem? I was not dead. I was lying right there, listening to every single word. Let me tell you how I ended up trapped in my own body while the two people who were supposed to love me planned my funeral like it was a party. My name is Grace. Before all of this happened, I was the kind of wife everyone called lucky. I woke up at 4:30 every morning. I made breakfast for my husband Daniel, his mother Margaret, and sometimes his younger brother Oliver. I packed lunches. I ironed shirts. I cleaned the house until it sparkled. I smiled through family dinners where Daniel's mother told me I was plain, but at least I was useful. Daniel worked at a bank. He was a branch manager. Good job. Good salary. Everyone thought he was the one taking care of me. The one paying for everything. The strong husband with the quiet wife. They had no idea the truth. You see, I had a secret. A huge secret. My father had built a shipping and warehouse business across the UK. When he died 10 years ago, everything came to me. The buildings, the trucks, the contracts, the money, millions and millions of pounds. But I never told Daniel. I wanted him to love me for me, not for my money, not for my business, not for what I could give him, just for Grace, the real me. So I pretended. I acted like I was just a housewife who did a little computer work from home. I paid myself a small salary from my own company so it looked normal. I let Daniel think he was the provider. I let him feel like the big man. And for a while I thought it was working. But I was wrong. About 3 years ago, things started to change. Daniel came home late. He smelled like perfume I did not buy. He smiled at his phone during dinner but would not show me the messages. When I asked if everything was okay, he snapped at me. You would not understand, Grace. You just stay home all day doing nothing. I am out there dealing with real problems. Real problems. As if running 3 companies and pretending to be a housewife was not a problem. But I stayed quiet. I kept cooking. I kept cleaning. I kept hoping that love would be enough. I was so wrong. Everything fell apart on a Tuesday morning in September. I had been feeling tired for weeks. Headaches that would not go away. Dizzy spells. Chest pains I ignored because there was always something to do. Margaret needed her medicine picked up. Daniel needed his suits cleaned. Oliver needed money for rent again. I was carrying heavy shopping bags from the car when the world went black. I collapsed right there in the driveway. The bags split open. Food rolled everywhere. I remember seeing the sky above me. I heard a neighbor shouting my name. Then nothing. When I woke up, I could not move. I could not speak. I could not even open my eyes properly. Everything felt heavy, like I was underwater. But I could hear voices, beeping machines, footsteps. And then I heard Daniel's voice. How long will she stay like this?
It is
A
hard to
woman
say,
answered.
Mr. Thompson.
A
She is in a
doctor.
coma.
She sounded tired. It is hard to say, Mr. Thompson. She is in a coma. Her body shut down from exhaustion and stress. She is stable, but we cannot predict when or if she will wake up. If, Daniel asked. I am sorry. We have to be realistic. There was a pause. Then Daniel said something that made my heart freeze. So what happens to everything if she does not wake up? The doctor cleared her throat. That is a question for lawyers, not doctors. But you should know, she can still hear you. Patients in comas often hear conversations around them. It is important to speak positively, to encourage her to fight. Daniel did not respond. I heard him walk away. That is when I realized the truth. I was trapped in my own body. I could not move. I could not scream. I could not defend myself. All I could do was listen as my life fell apart around me. The first few days were terrible. Daniel came and went, but he was never alone. He brought his mother Margaret. She stood by my bed and prayed. loud enough for the nurses to hear. Lord, we ask for your mercy on Grace. If it is your will to take her home, we accept it. We know you have a plan. Take me home? I had been in a coma for 3 days. Just 3 days. And she was already planning my funeral. When the nurses left the room, Margaret's voice changed completely. Daniel, we need to talk about practical things. Hospital bills are piling up. How long are you going to keep her on these machines? Mom, I cannot just. You cannot afford this. She does not have insurance that covers long-term care. You will go bankrupt. Think about your future. Think about Oliver. He needs help with his flat deposit. You cannot let Grace's situation ruin the whole family. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her that I had been paying Oliver's rent for 2 years, that I paid for her hip surgery last year, that every single pound Daniel had given his family came from my bank accounts. But I could not. I could only listen. 1 week into my coma, Daniel brought someone new. I heard high heels clicking on the floor. Expensive perfume filled the room. Then a young woman's voice. So this is her? Yeah, this is Grace. She looks so small. I thought she would be more, I don't know, prettier. Daniel laughed. He actually laughed. Grace never cared about how she looked. She was more about being useful than being pretty. Well, lucky for you, you have got me now. I heard them kiss. Right there. 2 feet from my hospital bed. Daniel kissed another woman while I lay there helpless. Her name was Amber. Over the next few minutes, I learned everything about her. She was 28 years old. She worked in marketing. She drove a fancy car she was paying monthly for. She liked expensive restaurants and weekend trips to the beach. And she was sleeping with my husband. When do you think we can make this official? Amber asked. Soon. Once the doctors give us a final answer. If she does not wake up in the next few weeks, we can start making decisions. Decisions. About turning off the machines. My heart monitor beeped faster. A nurse rushed in. She checked my machines and adjusted something on my 4. Then she left. Amber whispered, Do you think she heard us? She is in a coma. Babe. She is not hearing anything. But I was. I heard everything. Over the next 3 weeks, I listened to my entire life being torn apart. Daniel and Amber made plans. They would sell the house. My house. The house I bought with my inheritance money. They would use that money to get a flat in London. Amber wanted a bigger engagement ring than the one I wore. Daniel promised her everything I never gave him. Margaret visited less and less. When she did come, she talked to Daniel in the hallway. But I could still hear. Has the lawyer said anything about her will? She never made one, Mum. Everything goes to me because I am her husband. Good. That house is worth at least £400,000. And whatever savings she has. If only they knew. If only they knew about the warehouses, the shipping contracts, the properties, the bank accounts with millions of pounds, the investments that made more money in 1 month than Daniel made in a whole year. But they did not know. And I was not going to tell them. Not yet. On day 23, something changed. I felt a tiny tingle in my fingers. Then my toes. Feeling was coming back into my body. Slowly. Like ice melting. That night I moved my hand. Just a tiny bit. But it was enough. A young nurse named Sophie noticed during her night shift. She leaned close and whispered, Grace, can you hear me? Squeeze my hand if you can hear me. I squeezed. Sophie's eyes went wide. She ran out and came back with Dr. Clark, the main doctor who had been taking care of me. Dr. Clark was smart and calm. She checked my eyes and my heart. She asked me to squeeze her hand again. Grace, you are waking up. This is wonderful progress. But I need you to stay calm. Your body has been through a lot. Over the next 2 days, I got stronger. I could move my arms. I could blink on purpose. By day 26, I could whisper. The first thing I said was, Do not tell Daniel. Dr. Clark looked confused. Why not? Your husband has been here every day. I know. I heard him. I heard everything. Her face changed. She understood. Maybe she was even angry. What do you need, Grace? Time. I need time to prepare. And I need my phone. Your phone is with your things. But Grace, what is going on? I looked her straight in the eyes. My husband is planning to turn off my life support and take everything I own. But he does not know what I actually own. And when he finds out, I want it to be on my terms. Dr. Clark sat down slowly. Tell me what you need. So I told her everything. I showed her emails on my phone. The phone they kept charged thinking I would never wake up to use it. I showed her documents that proved I owned 3 big companies, including the bank where Daniel worked. Her mouth fell open. You are Grace Hartwell Thompson? The Grace Hartwell? From Hartwell Logistics. I like to keep it quiet. Grace, you are on the Forbes rich list. Under my father's last name and a business trust. No photos. No interviews. That is how I wanted it. Dr. Clark shook her head slowly. And your husband does not know? No. And I would like to keep it that way for 3 more days. She smiled. A small smile but real. What is the plan? Over the next 2 days we worked everything out. Dr. Clark moved me to a private room in a different part of the hospital. She told Daniel I needed special monitoring. Meanwhile, I made phone calls. My lawyer came. My company director came. My head of security came. They all used the side entrance. Nobody saw them. Within 48 hours, I had done this. Removed Daniel's name from everything I owned. Changed my will to leave everything to charities and my godchildren. Frozen Daniel's access to our shared bank accounts. Called the bank where Daniel worked and asked them to suspend him for personal conduct issues. Arranged for people to pack Daniel's clothes from my house. Filed for divorce because he cheated on me and planned to let me die for money. And then I planned the final move. Daniel and Amber had been planning my funeral. They booked a venue. They told people it was happening on Saturday. My body was still at the hospital. But they decided to do a service anyway. A celebration of life, they called it. But it looked more like a party. I saw the photos on Amber's Instagram. She posted them publicly. Black dress, but tight and expensive. Wrong for a funeral. Her caption said, "Sometimes angels get called home early. Supporting my love through this difficult time." The comments were angry. Is she the widow? This is so disrespectful. Why is she dressed like she is going clubbing? This man's wife is not even buried yet. But Amber did not care. Neither did Daniel. They were too busy planning their future with my money. Saturday morning, I was released from the hospital through the private exit. Dr. Clark arranged a car for me. I wore a simple white dress, the opposite of all their black. I did my hair. I put on the pearl earrings my father gave me before he died. I looked at myself in the mirror. I looked thinner, older, but stronger. Are you ready? Dr. Clark asked. I have never been more ready in my life. The venue was a big hall in Surrey. Daniel had spent my money on flowers, food, and an open bar. When I arrived, I could hear music. Real music. Not funeral songs. Pop music. I walked in through the back door. The staff looked at me, confused. I am Grace Thompson, I said calmly. I believe this is my funeral? A young woman dropped the tray she was holding. But you are supposed to be dead? In a coma? I know. Where are they? She pointed to the main hall with a shaking hand. I walked down the hallway. Every step felt powerful. Like I was walking toward the end of one life and the beginning of another. I pushed open the doors. The room went completely silent. There were about 50 people there. Family, friends, people Daniel worked with. At the front, standing beside an empty coffin covered in flowers, was Daniel in a black suit. Amber beside him in that ridiculous dress. Margaret in the front row, already collecting sympathy cards and what looked like cash donations. I walked slowly down the middle aisle. Someone screamed, "Oh my God!" Chairs scraped. People stood up. Gasped. Amber grabbed Daniel's arm. Daniel's face went white. Completely white. I walked all the way to the front. The pastor looked more confused than anyone. He stepped aside. I took the microphone. "Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to my funeral. I am Grace, the dead person. Except, as you can see, I am not actually dead." Complete silence. I turned to Daniel.
Surprise, darling.
He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. "I know this is awkward," I continued. "Funerals usually need an actual dead body. But I appreciate the effort. The flowers are beautiful. Is that an open bar? That is a nice touch." Someone laughed nervously, then stopped. "I have been in a coma for 28 days, I said clearly. During that time I could not move, could not speak, but I could hear everything. Daniel found his voice. "Grace, this is not what it looks like, is it not? Because what it looks like is a celebration. What it sounds like is relief. What it feels like is a man and his girlfriend planning their future with a dying woman's money." Amber tried to step back, but I turned to her. "Do not leave, Amber. You are part of this story too." Her face went red. "Daniel, do you want to tell everyone what you said? Or should I?" I did not wait. "You said, and I quote, Grace was more about being useful than being pretty. Lucky for me, I have got Amber now." People gasped. Margaret stood up. "Grace, this is inappropriate. You are clearly not well. Sit down, Margaret." Something in my voice made her sit immediately. "You want to talk about inappropriate? Let us talk about how you stood by my hospital bed and prayed for God to take me home so Daniel would not have to pay medical bills. Let us talk about how you told him to turn off my life support so he could afford Oliver's flat deposit." Oliver, sitting 3 rows back, looked like he wanted to disappear. "Let us talk about how every single one of you treated me like I was already gone. How you planned this funeral while I was still alive. How you went through my things. How you made plans for my house, my car, my life. But here is the thing," I said, and I smiled. "You all made one very big mistake. You thought I had nothing, that I was just a housewife. Just useful Grace who cooked and cleaned and paid for things without anyone noticing." I pulled out my phone. I showed documents on the screen, turned it toward the crowd. "I am Grace Hartwell Thompson, owner of Hartwell Logistics, owner of Hartwell Properties, board member of 3 companies you use every day. I am worth £42 million, and every single penny belongs to me." The room exploded. Voices shouting. Daniel lunged forward. "That is not possible. You are lying." I put the phone away. "Call my lawyer if you want proof. But let me save you the trouble, Daniel. As of Thursday, you have been removed from all accounts, all properties, all my money. You are no longer getting anything I own. I have also filed for divorce because you cheated," which Amber documented all over social media. Amber burst into tears. "Also," I continued, "I called the board at the bank where you work. You have been suspended. Turns out, planning to kill your wife for money while working in banking is considered a conduct problem." Daniel's phone buzzed. He looked at it. All color drained from his face. "That is your termination email," I said. "Effective immediately." Margaret stood again, furious. "You cannot do this. Daniel is your husband. Was my husband. And yes, Margaret, I can. In fact, I already did. You have 30 days to leave my house on Elm Street. The house I bought you 3 years ago. The house you said was too good for someone with my name." She sat down like her legs had given out. I turned back to Daniel. "You wanted to know what happens to everything if I die? Nothing, because I am not dead. I am standing right here, and I am taking it all back." Amber finally spoke, her voice shaking. Daniel, you said she was just a housewife. You said we would be rich. I know what I said. Then you lied. You told me she had nothing. I thought she did not. Well, she does. And I am not staying with some broke, jobless man. Amber grabbed her expensive handbag, probably bought with my money, and stormed out. Daniel tried to follow her. Amber, wait. She did not stop. He turned back to me, desperate. Grace, please. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. I made mistakes, but we can work through this. You are right. You did make mistakes. Lots of them. But we are not fixing anything. We are done. You cannot just throw away 15 years. I am not throwing it away, Daniel. You already did that. I am just finally seeing it clearly. The crowd was still silent, watching. Some were recording on their phones. Good. Let them record. There is a lesson here, I said to everyone. People show their true character when they think you have no power, when they think you are helpless, when they think you cannot fight back. Daniel thought I was weak because I was kind. He thought I was worthless because I was quiet. He thought I was nothing because I did not brag. I looked at Daniel one last time. But I was never weak. I was never worthless. I was never nothing. I was just waiting to see who you really were. And now I know. I set the microphone down on the coffin. Enjoy the rest of the service. The food is already paid for. It would be a shame to waste it. And then I walked out. Behind me, chaos erupted. Voices shouting. Daniel calling my name. Margaret screaming about lawyers. But I did not look back. Dr. Clark was waiting by the car, smiling. How do you feel? Free, I said. For the first time in 15 years, I feel completely free. The next few weeks were a blur. Legal papers, meetings, media attention. Someone from the funeral recorded my speech. It went viral. Millions of views. Comments from everywhere. This woman is my hero. The way she walked in like a queen. Never underestimate a quiet woman. Daniel and Amber got exactly what they deserved. News stations wanted interviews. I said no to all of them. This was not about being famous. This was about justice. Daniel tried everything. He hired lawyers. He said he would fight the divorce. He claimed I abandoned him. But every single claim fell apart when the evidence came out. Photos of him and Amber. Messages planning my funeral while I was alive. Hospital staff who heard him talk about turning off life support. His lawyers quit when they realized he could not pay them. Amber disappeared from social media. Deleted everything. Last I heard, she moved back to Manchester working in a shop again. Funny how fast the easy life ends when the money runs out. Margaret did leave the house eventually. She tried to take furniture with her. My lawyer sent her a message about theft. She left everything and has not spoken to me since. Fine by me. Oliver, surprisingly, reached out. He apologized. Said he had been blind. He got a real job. He paid me back for 2 years of rent. He asked if we could be friends. I said maybe. Time would tell. As for Daniel, last I heard, he was working at a small bank in Dover. His reputation was destroyed. No big bank would hire him. He lives in a tiny flat now. Drives an old car. Works weekends to survive. Some people might say I was cruel. That I destroyed him. But I did not destroy Daniel. I just stopped holding him up. 6 months after the funeral that was not a funeral, I stood in front of the board of Hartwell Logistics. For the first time in 10 years, I attended in person. Some of you know me by reputation, I said. Some have worked with my business trust. But today I am here as myself, as Grace Hartwell, and I am ready to take my place as the active CEO of this company. They voted me in unanimously. I moved into a new house, smaller than the one I shared with Daniel, but beautiful, modern.
Mine.
I filled it with art I loved, books I wanted to read, furniture I chose myself. I started a foundation for women leaving bad relationships. Women who felt trapped. Women who had been told they were nothing. I wanted them to know they were everything. And I learned something important. The people who celebrate your fall are often preparing for their own. Daniel celebrated at my hospital bed. He wore black to my funeral. He planned his future standing over my dying body. And when I rose up, he fell down. Not because I pushed him, but because he had been standing on me the entire time. And when I moved, he had nothing left to stand on. 1 year later, I was sitting in my office when my assistant buzzed me. Grace, there is a Daniel Thompson here. He does not have an appointment, but he says it is important. I thought about it. Then I said, send him in. Daniel walked in looking smaller than I remembered. Older. Tired. Grace, thank you for seeing me. You have 5 minutes. He sat down, looked at his hands. I wanted to say I am sorry, really sorry, for everything. Okay. I was selfish. I took you for granted. I treated you like you were invisible. And I have lost everything because of it. I waited. I am not asking you to take me back, he said quickly. I know that is not happening. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. What I had. What I threw away. You were the best thing in my life, and I destroyed it. Yes, I said. You did. Do you think you will ever forgive me? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Maybe one day, Daniel. But forgiveness does not mean letting you back in. It just means I am not carrying anger anymore. And I am not. I am too busy being happy. He nodded. Stood up. I am glad you are happy, Grace. You deserve it. He left. I watched him go. And I felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. No regret. Just peace. Because here is what I learned. You do not need someone else to tell you that you matter. You do not need to be seen to have value. You do not need to prove yourself to people who have already decided you are worthless. You just need to know who you are. And then live like it. I am Grace Hartwell Thompson. I am strong. I am capable. I am worthy. And I am enough. I always was.